Hello, everybody. Joey Richardson here. I am finally ready to do a movie review, even though I was planning on watching a movie that I had watched several times. Yes, Major League 2, it's about time, huh? Sure is. Well, putting the personal problems aside and trying to be happier and, well, getting out and not focusing on social media really helped. And I realized I can do without social media 24/7. Not deactivating my account on Facebook, however. Just want to try not to worry about anything on it as much. So here we are, Major League Part 2. Came out in 1994. A lot of us were young at the time. I mean, there's probably some people on my Facebook who weren't quite born yet. But yes, most of the cast did return, and there were some new additions to the cast. Charlie Sheen, Tom Berenger, and Corbin Burnson, the main three casts do return for this one. And while it is, while they do return, Wesley Snipes, who played Willie Mays Hayes, he does not return. Instead, he's replaced by actor Omar Epps, who I think did a nice job. But people who I talked to, they say they preferred Snipes, and because he was the one in the first movie. But in the second movie, they would have liked to have seen him also. But that's just part of it, I guess. Wesley Snipes got really big, so Omar Epps had to replace him in that role, and I thought he did good. So no disrespect there. And David Keith, he is a new addition to this film as well. He is playing Jack Partman, who is initially with the Cleveland Indians, signed by them as a free agent, and then he's traded during the season to the hated Chicago White Sox, which is they're going to be the story in this movie as well. They're part of the movie. The White Sox are, because that's who the Indians got eliminated by in the playoffs the year before, and it's basically going to be like the Chicago White Sox are sort of their kryptonite. But you'll have to see what happens when I get further into this video. So the first thing, Harry Doyle, played by Bob Uecker, who, he's a radio broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, he was actually featured in both Major League movies as an announcer. And man, is he funny, and he does say things that you wouldn't hear him say on the radio. So yeah, he's funny, but he's also inappropriate. As both movies do have some stuff in it you don't want to know, but or that's not good for everybody. But however, so the movie starts out with a fan, played by Randy Quaid. He's after the Tribe Talk show. It mentions who's returning for the lineup, and then most of, yeah. Then it says that the fan played by Randy Quaid. He's excited to announce that the team just signed Jack Partman as a free agent. He's a arrogant power hitter who thinks he's better than everyone, and you'll find that out as the movie goes along if you ever watch it. So he so when the players see each other again, and there is another new cast member. I don't know how to say his last name, but his first name is Eric. He's playing catcher named Rue Baker, who has a problem throwing back to the pitcher when he catches a ball. Aging veteran catcher Jake Taylor is asked to work with Rube on his problem, and the manager asks Jake Taylor, so Jake Taylor feels like, yeah, I have no choice but to help this guy, and Jake Taylor does so well working with him that the backup catcher, actually makes the team because that's the same position Jack Parkman's in, and Jake Taylor was a catcher as well. But you'll find out that Jake Taylor did not make the team as a catcher, but instead was asked to be an assistant coach, one of the assistants on the team. They wanted him to be on the coaching staff, which they felt they needed him, and he almost turns it down. But he decides to go to the manager's house or apartment or whatever, and then he says, "I'll tell Dorn I paid you to go back." And Roger Dorn actually did buy the team from that toxic owner. However, he ends up selling the team back when he realizes he spent too much money to get the team. And I think she had to be in this film. You have to think she's gone, and then everybody's mad that Roger Dorn pretty much sold the team back to the owner. But who else wanted to hit that team? She kept him as GM, so he was happy with the offer, and he actually ends up activating himself as a player. But anyways, Willie Mays Hayes is one I should get to. He bulked up this during the winter and was acting in a movie, and he did his own stunts, and he actually was limping, and he had hurt himself doing a stunt, and it's just funny how he's making excuses about his leg hurting and stuff. But when you watch the film, you'll realize his his injured leg was mostly an act, and he finally gets his confidence back, and he tries to become a power hitter at the start of the movie. During the spring, it shows him in a spring game hitting the ball out of the park for a home run, and Rue Baker, who wasn't even expected to make the team, was like, "Wow, some major power," or something like that. And then the manager says, "All this from a guy who will be bagging groceries in a couple of weeks." Rube wasn't even expected to make the team, but as I told you, he does make the team thanks to Jake Taylor helping him. But yeah, Willie Mays Hayes, unfortunately, on the season opener, it shows him trying to go deep twice, but the outfielder catches both of the fly balls. As a leadoff man, you're not supposed to be trying to hit home runs unless the coaching staff lets you. Usually, you're not trying to lead off a home run unless that's your role in the team is to try to get home runs. It just depends. It makes me think about the Atlanta Braves. Their leadoff hitter really shouldn't be leading off because he can hit leadoff home runs. I mean, it worked with Curtis Granderson when he played with the Detroit Tigers. Although he hasn't been a leadoff guy. I don't even know if he plays anymore, but the outfielder Braves Scott, he's good leadoff man, but he does have power. He should actually be hitting somewhere else in the lineup. We'll have to see who gets the leadoff spot going into the season. But as I'm saying, that's just an example I'm using. So as far as the movie go, yeah, Rube Baker, not the best hitter, but he has good. He is able to work on getting the ball back to the pitcher because Jake Taylor finds out that he looks at Playboy and not only looks but reads Playboy. And the point of Jake Taylor is read the articles, memorize them, and just when you're trying to throw back to the pitcher, just basically say it. Although you don't know he's telling that. You can only think that you can only know that he's probably telling them to memorize the articles and say it as the ball's being thrown back to the pitcher because that's what's going to help him. Yeah, it's kind of funny how he has to remember the girl's interests just to get the ball back to the pitcher. But Rube is he's kind of funny. I mean, he really is a laughable character. I kind of wonder if that's why the actor isn't really doing much acting anymore. It's because he kind of has a cheesy character in this movie. But Jack Parkman, of course, he's the starting catcher, and he shows off some power too. There's even before the spring games, it shows Rip Vaughn, who I need to get into. He no longer has that wild hairdo. He actually looks like he's running for office, as how Billy Mays Hayes described it. Which him and Rip Vaughn are supposed to be friends, but they go at each other during the film at some point. But now Rip Vaughn doesn't just throw 96-mile-an-hour fastballs. He names his pitches: the Eliminator, the Humiliator, and the Terminator. The Terminator's the fastball, but he he throws these off-speed pitches called the Eliminator and the Humiliator. So yeah, it's kind of funny, and he has an agent who he's dating, and yeah, she's pretty, but I gotta think she's probably too old now and might not look as good as she once did. I forget her name, the actress, but I know she's a blonde, and I ain't particularly my type, but some blondes I do like. They're just not they're not all my favorites, but but I'm friends with a lot of them, so no disrespect there. I do think they're pretty, just not particularly my first choice of who to go for. I don't I don't always have a preference, but I'm just saying. But this blonde, oh yeah, she everybody's talking about how pretty she was, like Will Mays Hayes, Jake Taylor. He's married, and the woman he was going pursuing in the first movie, indicated that, and the only part of the movie she's in, it indicated that she was wearing a ring that her and Jake Taylor were married. So yeah, while Vaughn leaves with his agent, Willie Mays Hayes and Jake Taylor do hang out and stuff, and that's when Jake Taylor discovers the limp, which will come into effect later on in the movie. And then Rip Vaughn accuses Willie Mays Hayes of acting with saying the limp vets act he has done all season. But yes, there's a turning point in the movie. So okay, so there's a part where Rip Vaughn's pitching to Jack Parkman, and he pitches the Eliminator, and Jack Parkman's like, "What do you call that garbage?" His attitude is actually a problem in the movie. He's like, "What do you call that garbage?" He says, "The Eliminator. I got another one. Get a piece of it. You can rename it." He throws his other off-speed pitch, and Jack Parkman hits it out. And Jack Parkman throws his, he's getting ready to drop his bat. He's like, I'd call it the masturbator. Please forgive me for saying that, y'all. That's literally the scene, what he says in the scene. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's not appropriate for kids to hear. Well, depending on age. But yeah, I need to be careful. But that was like. But anyways, so they have a terrible spring as you look at it. And yes, Serrano is all peaceful and not really this tough guy. He's actually become a nice, peaceful man who voodoo is no longer his thing. It's like Buddha now that he's worshiping. He's wanting to be more peaceful, meditation, and he's acting really nice towards players, including Rube, who accidentally sprays Toronto with shaving cream, and Toronto forgives him. And he looks like he's about to do something to Rube, but then Rube realizes, oh, you're actually a nice guy, Serrano. He probably thought that too. I'm thinking, oh, everybody's like, wow, what's happened to Pedro? He actually is. He actually has a really bad spring as well. Most of the guys do. Hayes is hitting some balls out, but you realize that when it comes to a big actual field, he's not killing the ball, and that he's just he tried to rely too much on his power when he couldn't. So the team gets off to a slow start. Rip Vaughn gets removed from the starting rotation. Jake Taylor is a coach, and Lou Brown does suffer a heart attack, and Jake Taylor becomes the interim manager for the team. And yes, Rachel Phelps bought the team back from Doran, and Doran's the GM, and he activates himself for retirement but does not receive playing time. So the turning point is when Willie Mays Hayes and Charlie and Rip Vaughn gets into a fight, and the whole team starts fighting, and they were already down a lot anyways. And the fan is just, and that fan, he's always screaming at Rip Vaughn because he's having a horrible season, and he's gonna be a loudmouth fan if you ever watch the movie. You just gotta love Randy Quaid being so loudmouth fan. Kind of makes me think of myself in a way. But yes, Willie Mays and Rip Vaughn get in a fight, and they all get ejected for fighting each other. The whole team beats the crap out of each other. The other team's just not even involved in this fight. It's just a team. Well, it's just this Indians team fighting each other, and they get ejected. But then there's a game two, in which they're down 1-0, and Willie Mays Hayes finally, Rube gets hurt, but is able to make it to first base safely for a hit. So that happens, and then Willie Mays Hayes decides to run, and he steals 3 straight bases to score the time run. He finally shows everybody that he's not hurt and that he is ready to seriously play ball. And he actually stops trying to hit for power too. And then oh yeah, I forget that while Apartment was traded, they did get an outfielder that's Japanese, and he actually influences Serrano by making him the tough guy he once was. So when Serrano wants a bat, because the Japanese outfielder's looking at him like, you better get a bat and help the team. So Serrano tells Jake Taylor that he wants a bat, and Jake Taylor says, okay, help yourself. So Serrano gets a bat, and the catcher's asking Serrano how he's doing. Serrano's like, shut up. This is where you see the Serrano you knew in part 1. And he actually ends up hitting the ball for a home run, walk-off home run, to win for the Indians to win 2-1. And from that point on, they start winning despite the owners. And then it gets to, so they barely win the division. But yeah, everybody started playing well again, and Jake Taylor's doing a nice job with the team. So as far as, and the Japanese outfielder, he makes some crazy catches in the game. He's really good. So yeah, so they get to the playoffs, and they have to play the White Sox to advance the World Series. They take the first 3 games, but Vaughn shows that he's really struggled all season, and when it's 3-0 Indians in the series, all they needed was to win the game, 4th game, to sweep the Sox. But that doesn't happen. He's facing Jack Apartment, Rip Vaughn is, with a 6-4 lead, and he's afraid of his fastball because it only goes like 85 miles per hour or 80 something miles per hour when he pitches it. It don't even go in the high 90s. But yeah, he's afraid of his fastball, so he throws a pitch that Apartment hits out to give the White Sox the walk-off win, and the White Sox win the next 2 games to tie it 3-3. But Jake Taylor goes to Vaughn's place and tells him about the pitching staff being overworked in the bullpen and everything being used up. And he actually helps Rip Vaughn get his old self back. And the fan is actually saying stuff to Rip Vaughn in the last game before Rip Vaughn shows his old self, which Rip Vaughn's kind of dumb in this one. I mean, gosh, what do you expect from Charlie Sheen's characters anyways? He wasn't too bad. He was kind of dumb in the first one, but this one he was more dumb. But anyways, so Apartment threw his home run and gets booed. By the way, Jack Apartment in the first game they lost, where Willie Mays Hayes fell in to get the ball out. Apartment does hit a home run and does a little shimmy before he bats. It drives the women here in Cleveland crazy. And then when he's in a White Sox uniform in the playoffs, he's doing a little shimmy. It makes the women in Cleveland puke. That's kind of funny. But yeah, Partman's a power hitter who actually put the game with him for opening game with him one while it was 4-3. Yeah, it was 4-3 after his home run. But unfortunately, the time run couldn't score at the end because Serrano was trying to save a bird that got hit by the ball. Even though it would have tied the game up, he wanted to save the bird instead of trying to win the game. So yeah. So anyways, so what happens is Partman hits a home run, and everybody, it's like a 6-5 game because Serrano puts the Indians back on top, and then in the ninth inning, the starting pitcher, his last name's Shoop. I don't know his first name, but the starting pitcher, he walks a guy, and it's 2 men on. So basically, Rip Vaughn is summoned to pitch against a guy named Beck, who's batting in front of Partman. So when Jake Taylor calls out Rip Vaughn, Lou Baker's like thinking, seriously? Rip Vaughn? And Jake Taylor's like, yes. He's pitching the bat, not Partman. And then Randy Quaid's character, that crazy fan, is saying stuff to Rip Vaughn. But Rip Vaughn's showing his old attitude off. And then the fan reacts like he's all like, oh my god, it's him. Like he's finally seen the Rip Vaughn of old, who comes out to Wild Thing, and he's got his hair cut and his jacket. I think he actually ends up getting a motorcycle again too, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, he does have an ex-girlfriend that's part of the film, and he does end up back with her. So that's good. But he before he mates up with her, which he does, he has to win the game for the Indians. So he has to get one out basically to save the game. So he tells Jake Taylor he wants Partman, and Taylor's trying to say no. That's a hitter. Partman's not up. I'll walk him. And load the bases for Partman? What are you, crazy? I want Partman. And then he's like, alright, go get him. And Partman believes he has the new haircut same to the arm. Well, Partman's going to do his little shimmy when he walks up. And I like the music that plays. Well, here's the thing. Partman is going to swing at the first pitch thinking it's a slow fastball, but it's in the high 90s. And he's like, and Partman's like, ooh, boy, it's pumped up. Looks like I'm going to have to get serious. So strike one is called because he swung at what he thought would be a slow fastball, but it was a high 90s fastball. He swings, so Rube is giving him the one, pointing at, giving him the one signal, and Vaughn's is accepting it. It goes after Partman again. This time, Partman fouls it back to the screen, and the fans are like all going crazy because they thought Partman was about to hit that one out, which I thought so to myself when I watched it for the first time. He's like, I got your timing now, but I bet you don't have enough hair on your behind to throw me another one. And then Vaughn's like, here it comes, Partman. Oh, #1 Terminator. Get a piece of it, you can rename it. So Vaughn throws, so it's 0-2 to Partman. He puts a lot more on that pitch, and Partman ends up swinging and missing for strike 3. And that basically ends the game and ends the series with the Indians advancing to the World Series, which you won't see. But Vaughn does. He basically dumps his agent and basically goes back to his ex and tells the kids that she teaches that are first time offenders. Well, he says he got tickets for them, and she agrees to go out with him for 1 hour or something like that. The ex-girlfriend that he's getting back with. So it's like they do get back together, which is good. She's like, I kind of like the mom you used to be in one part of the movie. But yeah, I know this was longer than expected. but it's really worth watching. So yeah, that's just how it goes. The Indians are advancing the World Series. You won't get to see that. There has not been a Major League 3. Their third movie was Fat to the Minors, which is nothing related to the Indians. I hope you enjoyed this though, and hopefully this review ain't too long for you. I try to remember the best I can. I probably just said a lot, but anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe. Thank you, everybody, and hopefully this ain't too long for everyone. But don't forget, y'all. Love you guys. Bye.